I feel anxious and I'm okay. Today, I wanted to chat with you about anxiety. There are a number of reasons why I would like to focus on this topic today. One of them is that many of you write into me about how you like or you internalize my content. And quite a few of you wrote to me, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. You wrote to me saying that took a lot of courage to be so vulnerable in my last couple of quiet talks. And I thought about that. I spoke about my brother and other personal narratives. And the theme came out again and again, and keep it coming. You are so vulnerable. This takes so much courage. You talk about being anxious and this sort of rhetoric. And I thought to myself, why? Why does it take courage to say what you feel? Even the definition of vulnerability is to place yourself at some emotional or physical risk. Why does it place me at some level of emotional risk if I tell you how I feel? Isn't the authentic part of us about saying what we feel? And if one of our feelings is not normal, who are we as people? Normally, when I do these quiet talks, I just turn on the phone and I gabber on. Today, I've taken some notes which I've rewritten and rewritten and rewritten. So I've taken some time to think about today. I thought to myself, am I being vulnerable? The definition of vulnerability being taking some emotional or physical risk in a particular behaviour. And I thought, I don't actually feel vulnerable. I don't feel that I'm taking a risk when I talk about my narratives, my stories. And what does that mean? I've been listening to Gabor Mate and some of his content on the myth of being normal. And I pondered this also. What is being normal? And is this something that we should intrinsically fear? The syndrome of wanting to be normal. Because if we are in any way sociologically normal, we're trying to be like everybody else. We're trying to be the sheep in the herd that looks like every other sheep in the herd. And if being normal is being that sheep in the herd, we never stand out. We never do anything different. We are never going to be that person that stands up on the train and says, stop bullying that person. We are never going to be the person at our workplace or in a social circle that says, stop, I will not criticize that person. If we want to be normal, we want to engage in groupthink and do what everyone else is doing. And if we want to be those people, those personalities that blend in, isn't that the root of unkindness? That's Morris calling out in the background. Morris, my horse. I think that if there is anything to fear, it is in any way being normal. The only way to create change is to be different. If we are normal, we are never going to create change. We are only ever going to support the status quo. And bacteria can only grow, and parasites can only grow in still water. I've taken some notes, which I don't normally do, because I really reflected on this. I reflected on my own personal narrative, and I've shared a lot of that with you. When I was young and I went to school and I was in prep, I could already read. I enjoyed reading cartoons, and I enjoyed reading Enid Blyton, so I could already read. But I noticed the popular kids in school couldn't read, so I pretended I couldn't read. And each day we would be told to take a book from the box that suited our skill level. And I would never, ever take a book from the box that suited my skill level because I didn't want to look different. I would always take a book from the box that the kids that couldn't read took a book from because I wanted to blend in. And there was a stage, because I'm arguably have high-functioning autism or ADHD. I'm different. There was a time where teachers called my parents in and said, "We believe your daughter is mentally retarded." Yes, they said that. So I had some testing done, and my IQ was much higher than the average child. Oh dear, I was different. But I remember the teachers looking at the notes and they said, I don't understand. Lauren has the IQ of a 16-year-old, or she passed at the level of a 16-year-old. And I remember as a young child feeling anger. I felt so much anger. And I felt this overwhelming desire to be different. And following that, I've gone through stages where I've asserted my difference, and then I go back like a tortoise in the shell with that. But I feel profoundly assertive about encouraging people to be different. I know every so often I see when someone sees me as different, and it comes up every so often, and it still bothers me. It bothers me because I have an intrinsic physical, biological need to be part of the herd. But I'm never going to do anything special in life if I'm part of the herd. And you won't either. Wear your difference as a badge of honour. Okay, so understanding the nature of anxiety. Anxiety is a universal human experience, a natural response to stress or perceived threats. In some ways, it can be seen as a gift. It serves an essential purpose, alerting us to potential dangers and helping us navigate challenges in our lives. However, in modern society, anxiety is often mislabeled as an illness. I'm not saying it's never an illness. I'm saying a lot of the times it is not an illness. It is heightened empathy. It is the ability to read a room. It is the ability to see things more clearly than other people. It is having heightened awareness, a level of higher intelligence. It is your body trying to message you something, and you need to be silent and listen so that the anxiety possibly ebbs. In modern society, anxiety is often mislabeled as an illness, which can lead to misunderstandings about its nature and impact on our lives. The role of anxiety is a fundamental emotional response that everyone encounters at various points in life. It can manifest as feelings of worry, nervousness, or fear, especially in situations like public speaking, job interviews, major life changes, relationships, death, loss, entering any new groups, any groups at all. We can feel anxious. This form of anxiety perhaps is not inherently negative. It can motivate us to prepare for and perform better. In essence, anxiety can be viewed as a protective mechanism or a motivating strategy, urging us to be vigilant, cautious, careful. Anxiety can motivate us to think, are we ready for this interview? Have we prepared for this exam? Is this person the right person to be in a relationship with? Anxiety versus anxiety disorders. While anxiety itself is not necessarily an illness, it can be problematic when it escalates into an anxiety disorder. Anxiety disorders are characterised by persistent and excessive worry that interferes with daily functioning. Conditions such as generalised anxiety disorder, GAD, panic disorder, and social anxiety disorder are examples of how anxiety can manifest in more severe forms. It is crucial to differentiate between normal anxiety and more heightened anxiety. The former is a common aspect of the human experience, while the latter requires more attention and possibly professional treatment. Recognizing this distinction allows individuals to approach their feelings of anxiety with a more moderate, clear-headed, empathetic understanding. Now, if you've experienced trauma or significant loss, you may have heightened anxiety, and perhaps that needs some help. But there is also a role to be played by anxiety. Anxiety can be your voice saying to you, you are right. Listen to me. I am your intuition. I am your sixth sense. I am your inner voice that knows you need to be careful, that knows you need a second look, that knows you need to prepare, that knows you need to listen, that knows this person is not for you, that knows that even though this person is charismatic in a public scene, perhaps they are not truly the good person that they pretend to be. Anxiety can serve a purpose in some situations. The stigma surrounding anxiety, labeling anxiety as an illness, often contributes to stigma and misunderstanding. Where someone says, oh, you've got an anxiety illness, calling it an illness. Is that helpful? Is that accurate? Many people experiencing anxiety may feel shame or invalidated when their feelings are categorized solely as a disorder. This can lead to feelings of isolation, discouragement, and encourage inner rhetoric saying, you're not good enough. Instead of viewing anxiety as a flaw or a disease, it may be more helpful to see it as a natural part of the human experience. We can reframe anxiety. We can redirect our thoughts. We can retrain ourselves. We can foster and cultivate a more compassionate dialogue around anxiety. And we can look at encouraging support and understanding around the topic of anxiety. Practical approaches to managing anxiety. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Watch your inner rhetoric around anxiety. Don't be pulled in by subjective labels and judgment of others. Be careful of those normal sheep, because those normal sheep, gee, they're dangerous. I think we could do with a lot less of the opinions and judgment of the normal sheep. I think next time they make a horror movie, it should be about Attack of the Normal Sheep. Strategies to deal with anxiety. Self-kindness. Be kind to yourself. Your anxiety has something to say. Be silent and listen. Mindfulness and meditation can help you. Listen to your anxiety, deal with it. Be careful of the cadence of your mind. Slow your mind down. Physical activity, little walks, pleasant walks, patting a furry friend, weight training, yoga. Regular exercise is known to decrease anxiety by releasing endorphins and improving overall mood. Healthy coping mechanisms, engaging in creative flow, hobbies, spending time with loved ones, practicing relaxation techniques, open communication with the right people, professional guidance, and in the right situation, exposing yourself to the anxiety. Only you know if this is right for you. There is a time and place to expose yourself to anxiety. I've gone through a lot of social anxiety in my life. I really struggled with school. I really struggled with relationships in school. What am I in Myers-Briggs? INFJ, one of the rarer personality types. I'm an absolute introvert. Just because I can speak to you on YouTube does not mean that I don't feel anxiety. And I think my expression, my feeling of anxiety is my super strength, my superhuman gift, my ability to read the room and my ability to intuitively feel if a social performer has good intention or not so good intention. Let's be really careful of the normal sheep. Let's be one of those crazy weirdo sheep that gets up in the flock and just starts dancing away. Normal is something we need to move away from. Anxiety is part of the richness of human expression. Let's be kind to ourselves. Let's look down upon our behaviour. I would never, ever have become a writer if I wasn't that weird kid in school that was scared to go to the reading box with the books I could actually read. It was only when I was an older adult, I'm middle-aged now, that I had the courage to start to write. I've only been on YouTube in any real way for a few years. I constantly receive hate. I wear that in many ways as a badge of honour now. I love the word vulnerability, but being vulnerable needs to be reasonable. We need to consider the why of being vulnerable. Brené Brown, I love Brené Brown. Why is it vulnerable to express some level of your personal narrative or anxiety? I told you about going to the run on Saturday. I go through stages. I find it challenging to leave the house. I'll say it again. I go through stages. I find it challenging to leave the house. I like small groups or no groups. I like one-on-one. I don't enjoy large groups as a general rule. If you have been following my content, you know that I'm getting married. I'm questioning how to get married, and I've thought about, do we just elope Or do we just bring immediate family and perhaps 2 friends? Because I don't like group social situations. It's not a reflection on who I am, my success, or anything else. It's just me. And you are okay. You are okay. Feeling anxiety is okay. It is one of the essential elements of the human rich experience. Just imagine a person that never, ever felt or experienced anxiety. There would be something very, very wrong with that person. They never worried about the feelings of another. They never felt anxious about the outcome of any particular situation. It would be kind of like the end of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And who likes that ending? Not me. You're okay. Feeling anxiety is part of the richness of who you are and your experience. I'm not saying it's always okay, but it's one of the normal colours of who you authentically are.